Looks good.
All right. Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the New Hanover County Board of Education to order. It is 5:30 p.m. At this time, I'd like everyone to stand for a moment of reflection. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
We'll ask the Navy, DeJounte Hoggard Navy Junior ROTC cadets to come back forward, and at this time we will allow our students from Myrtle Grove Middle School chorus and the cadets to introduce themselves to the audience.
My name is Jacob. I'm 13 years old, and I'm in 8th grade at Myrtle Grove High School.
Hi, my name is Krista Milling, and I'm in 8th grade at Myrtle Grove Middle School.
Hi, I'm Alexis Jordan. I'm in 8th grade at Myrtle Middle School.
I'm Logan Campbell. I'm in 8th grade at Myrtle Grove Middle.
I'm Megan Rogers, and I'm an 8th grader at Myrtle Grove Middle.
I'm Emmy Rose. I'm in 8th grade at Myrtle Grove.
I'm Thomas Vicharnik. I'm grade at Myrtle Grove Middle School.
I'm Morgan Matthews. I'm in 8th grade in Myrtle Grove Middle School.
I'm Cadet Larson in 10th grade at Hoggard High School.
I'm Cadet Von Kolnitz, 9th grade at Hoggard High School.
I'm Cadet Butler, 11th grader at Hoggard High School.
Cadet Petty Officer 3rd Class Dylan Craig, Hoggard NJFTC.
So again, the posting of the colors is by the Hoggard High School Navy Junior ROTC Unit, Principal Mary Paul Bell, Instructors Commander David Everett, and Staff Sergeant Richard Gusciardo. And the national anthem was provided tonight by Myrtle Grove Middle School Chorus, Principal Cindy Bliss, and the instructor Jamie Wood. Let's give them all another big round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mr. O'Brien. At this time, I would like to solicit a motion for the approval of the agenda with one change. I would like to ask that we move under item 10 for information, item A, if we can move that up to item 4, information. So the regional skills gap presentation, if we can move that under to make that item B under information item 4. So with that change, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Item number 3, approval of the minutes. The regular meeting minutes from February 4th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They are approved. Next, item B, the interim meeting minutes from February 27th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They are approved. Moving on to information item number 4. Item A, health precautions and funding available for sanitation supplies. Mr. Rivenbark?
There's somebody supposed to be here to speak.
All right, so I think there is a team here to speak about some health precautions regarding the item that's in the news about the coronavirus, so welcome.
Thank you. So we have a team here. I am Lisa Brown, and I'm the Public Health Preparedness Coordinator for New Hanover County. We also have Mr. Steven Stills, who's our Emergency Management Director. And we also have Kate Orslager, who is our, what is your official title? Communications. So we were asked to give a brief update on COVID-19 and then also maybe to answer a few questions and let you know what we're doing in the county so far. So Public Health has been monitoring COVID-19 for roughly 2 months now. So ever since it was first identified in Wuhan, China, roughly early January, and identified as a novel coronavirus. So there are many coronaviruses in the environment. There are 7 that are known to make people sick. This one's called novel because it's new. So at this point, it's been newly named. The disease is called COVID-19. What we know about it is that for roughly 80% of people that get COVID-19, the symptoms seem to be generally mild from what we're seeing globally. It's those that are older or that have compromised immune systems that we're most worried about, that are most vulnerable to more severe disease or complications. So I would state that risk remains low in our community. That said, I might be breaking a little bit of news that was recently stated for the state of North Carolina. We just announced the first case. It's a case out of Wake County. This is somebody that traveled to Washington State where there was a known outbreak. I believe State Public Health has reported that they are doing well and they are being monitored. And this is the point where public health actions start to take place. That whole discussion about any monitoring, any of those things, that's what happens now behind the scenes. Just generally, the situation for the United States, there are currently, or at least last I checked, 107 total cases. Now that's inclusive of roughly 45 that were either on that cruise ship that was brought back, Americans on that cruise ship brought back, or brought back from Wuhan, China. Roughly 62 cases are those that you might have been hearing news reports that have been identified in states recently. Currently, I believe there are 15 states, that might not be the exact amount, but it would be close, that have identified that they have a case of COVID-19 at this point. I did want to touch on the fact that we already have partnerships in place, and we work very closely already, I believe with your safety officer as part of the planning team, but then in addition to that, your nurses in the public schools are public health employees. So we're already regularly sharing information. They were already monitoring COVID-19, and that was already something that was in place. Something that they already do is reminding kids about appropriate hand washing techniques, and that's something that happens every flu season anyway. Those are probably efforts we're going to step back up again. So Stephen, did you want to talk a little bit about the planning framework?
Sure. Thank you again. I'm Stephen Still. I'm your Emergency Management Director. I just want to give a brief update on some of the work our team, our governmental, quasi-governmental, and public safety partners have been doing over the past month. Really what we have done is we have taken 2 existing plans that we have in place at the moment and have tailored it to a framework for response, particular to COVID-19. In general, this plan is very, very similar to our current influenza plan. So really, as Lisa just mentioned, it's some very, very basic precautions, and it's really very similar to influenza. Going forward, we look to convene that our public safety and governmental partner group here real soon to go through the plan for just a real good plan review to get those firm understandings of roles and responsibilities. And we're also waiting for some really good guidance from our state and federal partners on community mitigation actions. If we were to have to impose some community risk reduction, really what that looks like as a soft approach going forward.
Good evening. In addition, we just wanted to share some information about the communication efforts that we've been ramping up over the last week or so. And it was about a week ago now that we really escalated our communication efforts in addition to the information sharing our team's been receiving from public health over the last couple of months. New Hanover County has stood up a webpage dedicated to COVID-19 in our area, so we invite you to visit health.nhcgov.com. On the homepage, we'll link you to information from our state and federal partners, but that is where we will house a lot of our local information, key messaging, and recommendations that we'll have for the community as we move forward, if those are needed moving forward. We have developed publications as well that have been shared with our planning and communications partners across the community, mostly in an English and Spanish version flyer with some of our key messaging. And our key messaging remains that, as Lisa mentioned, risk is low, but those prevention measures are very important and similar to what we already do. So washing your hands, covering your mouth and nose when you sneeze, and staying home and away from others when you are sick. We are really sharing with the community and with our colleagues and all of you right now is to don't panic, but prepare. So follow those common pillars of preparation, whether it's a hurricane or something like an illness outbreak in our community. So we want folks to make a plan for your household if social distancing is needed in the future. Build a kit so you have what's necessary if you have to stay home for a couple of days, and stay informed. We are very aware of a myriad of misinformation that could be shared in a time like this. So please stay informed by following @NewHanoverCo on social media, our health website that I just shared, and our federal partners with the CDC. Can we answer any questions for you all?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Didn't the Department of Health and Human Services ask today that people try to avoid large-scale gatherings whenever possible?
That has been, go ahead, Lisa. It's been a guidance, but not a recommendation.
The risk is still low.
Yes,
So-
I understand that. I'm just asking about DHS guidelines.
As far as at this point, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, we're at the point where we're just beginning to ramp up those messages. I don't know that I would necessarily go forth and avoid a lot of gatherings at this point. I would be cautious, and I would make sure that you're doing those common sense things that we all need to do. So, for example, I broke the rule myself when I walked in and I shook hands. We should probably get out of that regular habit. We should also probably be very cautious that we not only wash our hands regularly, but that we do it correctly. Again, another thing I am guilty of, happy birthday song twice. It's a long time. There's also making sure that you're not going to work sick, that you're not around others that are sick, that you're coughing, you know, all of those basic common sense things. And I would say I went to a business this week. I had a doctor's appointment, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see they had already kind of worked through their own processes to a degree and had just implemented some just very basic sort of common sense things. Like maybe we shouldn't pass a microphone from person to person to person. What they had done was they had set up where you go to write your name that you checked in, you take the pins from one container, and then you put the pin you used in a different container, so that they had already kind of thought through, well, maybe we don't want this people touching the same pin one after the other after the other. And they were being a little bit more cautious about wiping down those surfaces that the general public was touching. So those are the sorts of things that we need to be more diligent about and think through our own processes now. If we come to the point that we're concerned, we're going to start making those recommendations. And that's going to be based off the science, that's going to be based off the epidemiology of what is happening in our community and what is happening at the wider community, and we're going to be transparent and we're going to have those discussions about risk. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but.
So right now, you would not recommend our school system canceling any events, like, you know, we have Best Foot Forward coming up. Right now, you would say go ahead with those. They're large-scale gatherings, there's a lot of kids, but you would say go ahead and have those events.
At this point, yes.
Okay.
But I would say we are monitoring the situation very closely. And if we have a reason to be concerned and feel that should change, we're going to make those recommendations.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone have any questions for, even for our staff? I think the message here is that we just need to be in planning mode.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda, Regional Skills Gap by the Wilmington Chamber of Commerce. Appendix C, my name is after that, but I will turn the microphone over to Ms. Megan Lewis. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Chairwoman Eastep and members of the board, I'm pleased to be in front of you tonight to present on the Regional Skills Gap Analysis that a group of organizations are really pushing forward starting March 16th, very much a regional effort. To introduce myself, my name is Megan Lewis. I'm actually a shared employee of the two organizations on the screen and before you. I work with Cape Fear Collective and the Wilmington Chamber on talent and leadership initiatives, and that is where this partnership comes in for this initiative. The Regional Skills Gap Analysis is an employer-led survey. We are targeting a 6-county region: New Hanover, Bladen, Brunswick, Columbus, Pender, and Onslow. to really get a feel for employer hiring needs. Where are your challenges? Where are the gaps? How confident are you in your current talent pipeline? And how maybe we can work again as partners to help fill those gaps. So again, the survey is intended to capture the following objectives. The reason I'm here today is really for that number 3 bullet. So how can we use this information, have some baseline data in these 6 county regions on how businesses are growing, what industries are growing, what are those skills and talents that they need, and really communicate back that to you. I know as a system, you're very interested in making sure you're producing talent that is needed in our region and the surrounding counties, and so this is an effort to hopefully bring some of that information to the front and then build on that in whatever means that might be. So this is an effort that the Asheville region and also the Triangle region has completed. In Asheville, they launched a manufacturing apprenticeship program from this data. Triangle was really focused on the clean tech industry, so we'll see what's specific here for the southeastern region. So again, this is an effort that was done in the Triangle. We're partnering with them again to bring this to southeastern North Carolina. They have a contract with RTI International, which is a well-renowned research and data analytics firm that will be monitoring the survey and analyzing the data for us. You'll see some of their key takeaways. These broad takeaways we expect to find in our survey as well, but again, finding some really specific action points to hone in on in our 6-county region. So for timeline, we are launching the survey March 16th. I have set a goal personally to have at least 500 unique businesses respond to that. I think it's not necessarily a stretch goal. I think that's very much easily accomplished. Raleigh, on the other hand, has a 10 to 15 county region, and they're trying to triple that number. So the more we can blow it out of the water, the better. The survey, they do recommend it being in the field for 8 weeks. May and June will be used for analysis. The one thing I will say about RTI doing this analysis is it is paired with existing data sets. So every 2 years, employers in the state are filling out an employer needs survey. That will be taken into account and layering in other statewide data as they have it. On June 23rd, the Wilmington Chamber always has a talent and workforce conference. RTI will come present the results. Everyone is invited to attend. We're also looking at virtual viewing options so that Onslow and some surrounding counties may also have their own kind of special event to preview the data. Promotion side is really for some of our other partners. Again, this is a regional effort. We know as the Wilmington Chamber and Cape Fear Collective, we cannot get these 500 responses on our own. So some of those partners, a draft list is in front of you, include regional chambers of commerce, economic development agencies. We're going to all the community college systems, really so that everyone is sending it out to their networks. And with that, I know I flew through that, but happy to answer any questions. And again, just look forward to partnering with you on this effort. And similar conversations are happening with school systems in the other 5 counties.
So what exactly do you need from us? You need a yes to participate, and what sort of data do you need from the school system?
Yes, so a confirmation to participate, so you'll see the draft partner list in front of you. Would love to remove that asterisk and include New Hanover County Schools as a partner. Really the only commitment to that, we're gonna have bi-monthly partner calls, so you're welcome to check in and kind of see our progress to date. Really the action is gonna come once the data has been presented. How can we partner on implementing? How can we work at the chamber to engage employers in kind of the talent pipeline needs that they have? And then certainly come on the 23rd. We hope to have certainly a good presence of educators in the room that can really be, responsible for implementing some of these needs. So that would be the immediate request. And then certainly as one of the largest employers in the county, having HR fill out your needs as well. There's a whole industry sector for education in the public sector.
So normally, do you have one person from each business that fills out the survey, or is it like spread across the business?
So ideally, we would like it to be system-wide. You can stop and restart the survey at any time, so it can be a collaborative effort. Mm-hmm. It's only about a 25 to 30-minute survey, so it's not going to be so intensive that you need kind of the top person to be filling it out. We hope that it's something that anyone can really fill out, and then RTI will handle any duplications as well.
Does anyone have any concerns or?
Hello.
Just looking forward to participating.
Do we need to
Yeah,
vote on
this
this?
is interesting. This is important information. Yep. Okay. Be very interesting.
I think it's great.
All right, is everyone okay with participating in this? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Mr. Buller, does this need a vote then?
Be best to have a vote, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then we would we then include it, can we vote on it even though it's listed as for, information? Should we then, include it under new business as well?
I think you can vote on it now.
Okay, all right. So then I would solicit a motion to, be included in the regional skills gap analysis.
Move to include?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Thank you so
you can take the
much.
Astros off. Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, recognition of achievement. Community partner, New Hanover Regional Medical Center, and I'm not sure who's doing, is that Ms. Clegg? Are you going to be doing the introductions? All right, thank you.
This evening for our community partnership, we have Scott Wisnett with New Hanover Regional Medical Center. New Hanover Regional Medical Center has partnered with the district in our elementary schools with career days, and most recently has partnered with our high schools at Hoggard, Laney, and Ashley by donating medical beds to our CTE students in nursing fundamentals classes. So I'll turn it over to Scott now, and he can share more information about the partnership the district shares with NHRMC.
Thank you. On behalf of our leadership at New Hanover Regional Medical Center, thank you for the opportunity to come and present to you. I'm the administrator of community engagement, so I head a lot of our volunteer efforts, most of which point back toward the schools. We call our effort Mission Corps, and we unveiled this concept a couple of years ago. It's an attempt to help our employees find an organized, systematic way to volunteer. A lot of employees in a place of work want to volunteer, but it's hard to figure out where to go, who needs volunteers, and what we do is we take all that work out of the mix and tell them, here's a place that you're needed, and get them to go. So we have 7,000 plus employees. We want to make volunteers out of all of them. One of our pharmacists named Lisa Edgerton leads this initiative, and this is truly volunteers, no pay incentive to do this. We call them ambassadors. We put them in various fields of the community and food. We work very closely with Nourish NC and the Mar Kids program and the Little Red Wagon. We have farming volunteers, housing, work on landscaping. We have certain activities that are family friendly. A lot of our employees ask, where can I bring my kids, teenagers, and even younger? And then other departments want team building opportunities. Where can we go, stand shoulder to shoulder and work together? And we cover all that. But our primary bedrock function under our health equity goal is health and all policies. And to the extent that there's policies in place that promote disparity, we'll oppose the policy, but if the policy's in place, we'll try to work on the fallout. So with that in mind, we work most of all with high poverty schools, mostly on the north side. We had a program where we would adopt classrooms, and the teachers and the children in small groups, read to the children, and we had everybody go through the volunteer training. Y'all are very good about making sure that we undergo a thing of volunteer training so we can be qualified to go into your schools. And there we are reading some of the kids there. The first Friday program, Rachel Freeman, under the prior administrator, was fantastic. We had as many as 40 volunteers who would go read first thing in the day. I think she had as many as 120, 130 come in from the community. That's John Gizdick, our CEO, reading a couple years ago to some kids. This was a fantastic front door way to get volunteers into the school, and we wish that program was still going. what we primarily did was had groups of 4 adopt classrooms. I had them in groups of 4 so they would take turns going to the classroom, tutoring, reading, bringing things, basically mentoring. What the teams ended up doing was coming together, and that worked as well. They would come together as a group. The day after we announced Mission Corps, every classroom in Rachel Freeman was adopted. We had our financial services department adopt the entire school. And at the height of this program, we had 45 classrooms adopted in these 4 schools you see here. And it was working really well. However, it proved to be overwhelming to the staff. They couldn't help, even though we told them not to do this, they couldn't help but go in their pocket and try to help these kids. It's heartbreaking when they can't afford books at the book fair, they can't afford lunch, they can't afford the simple things. And sure enough, we burned a lot of these groups out doing this. We're still present in these schools. We've added Anderson. Y'all have a fantastic principal at Anderson, by the way, and we've added that. And we focus on schools in the north side, the high poverty schools. But if employees have a particular connection to another school, that's fine. We definitely encourage them to do that. But we've changed our focus from ongoing commitment to one-time events that you can go just one time, not be committed going into the future. So we do events like Field Day at Snipes. We had a huge turnout there. When the kids at College Park Elementary needed somebody to report out to after their 9 weeks, a lot of times their parents can't come, so we had volunteers come and serve as the parent, and the kids reported out to us, and then we had about 20, 25 do that. That was wonderful. The kids at Snipes, many of them have not seen the Atlantic Ocean. That's me doing my King Triton Act in the water there. The goal there was to have as many come out of the water that went in, which we did. But that was entertaining, and that was also quite a lesson in how some kids live in our community. The Mark Kids, where we Nourish gives vegetables to kids and teaches them a little bit about what they taste like and what they're for. That's worked very well. We never have any trouble getting volunteers for that. We've encouraged. We would let other industries in town do these for us if they want to, because it's such a fulfilling way to volunteer. And then there's the Healthy Me Day at Snipes. We had 14 different departments, including obviously EMS, come to the Snipes Gymnasium. One of the things we want to teach children is that there's more to working at New Hanover Regional than being a doctor or a nurse. In fact, there's every kind of job you can think of is present in our hospital. And this day, we made that point very well. We had a fantastic response at the school. Positive behavior event at Anderson Elementary. Again, your principal there did a great job organizing, or actually had some volunteers organize an event there. We had probably 15 or 20 volunteers out there that day for the Browning family. And right now, we're tutoring with Soaring as Eagles over at Freeman on Saturday, the first and third Saturdays of the month. We've been doing that January, February. Our next one will be next Saturday. I've been out there every time, and it's always been 8 or 10 employees I've never met before from New Hanover Regional, which shows that we're reaching, it's not the usual suspects, we're reaching different people every time. That's very rewarding. Stuff the Bus, we have huge campaigns when communities and schools takes backpacks and those school supplies. And then there's donations. If you can't, we try to tell our staff, if you can't come out and partner and volunteer at a school, then you can always give us stuff that schools need. In 2017, seizing on the fact that we have so many young parents whose kids are now a little bit too old for those childhood books, we said, why don't you give us those childhood books? We raised 12,000 books and gave them really to just those schools right there, Freeman, Snipes, Dorothy B. Johnson, Alderman, some in Pender and Brunswick counties. And a lot of times those kids, those are the only books they own. We still could tap that resource more. And so I encourage young parents to bring books to my office, also to bring sports equipment, musical instruments, luggage. Kids who live in foster homes never have luggage, and they have to keep moving. It's always plastic bags. So who among us doesn't have extra luggage we don't use anymore? So we're trying to seize on that. We have such a big workforce. If we could get those materials and get them to people who need it. Of course, the Healthcare Explorer program, these kids come out for a whole year out at the school or partnership with a community college and UNCW. 12-month program. We've had 108 graduate last year, and 50 more just graduated in February. Again, they learn how many disciplines there are in our workforce beyond being a doctor and a nurse. So that's kind of our volunteerism. I want to take this opportunity to mention our partnership with you all in resiliency. The Resiliency Task Force has had New Hanover County Schools as a partner from the very beginning. probably familiar with adverse childhood experiences. It's a study that was done in the late 90s that found these 10 lousy things that happen to you in childhood. If you have 3 or 4 of them, it has profound impact on your physical health as an adult. If you've had 4 or more, you're like 4 times as likely to have heart disease, for example. And so from a public health standpoint, we can't learn this and then not do something about it. Our task force has close to 150 agencies in town and almost 700 people who are, say they're members of the task force. They don't all come to the meetings, but they get the information. There's 3 levels of stress we're worried about. There's individual stress, which are the leaves of that tree, the things that happen in terms of abuse, neglect, and so on. The roots are systemic adverse experiences such as poverty, homelessness, racism, and so on. And the third piece of that is environmental. In our community, Hurricane Florence is the sentinel event for environmental stress and impact, and we're still having to recover from that in terms of the toxic stress that has caused and the homelessness it's caused. As far as the schools are concerned, well, our primary goal is education and awareness. As far as the schools, we have shown a resilience movie to almost 2,500 people now. It's about an hour long. I'd love an opportunity to show it to the school board. If y'all have not seen the resilience movie, it's a great entry point into what this subject is about and why so many people, once they've seen it, are interested in trying to do something about it. We've trained about 900, but close to 1,000 in community resilience model. All 1,800 employees at New Hanover County took an hour-and-a-half course on community resilience model. We're in the process of trying to get into that at our hospital in a big way. As far as the schools, Dr. Markley first met with him in December of 16, asked for his support on this. He said, work with my teachers first. And he's so right about that. The teachers don't understand their own childhood events, their own toxic stress, and how that impacts them. There's no way they're going to be able to attend to their students in a way that's positive because they got to first understand how it's impacting them and techniques they can use to be able to cope with that. And so we want schools to become safe havens where children can learn. You see the results there that we think we can get with schools as opposed to businesses, churches, law enforcement, otherwise. You actually have measurable outcomes, less suspension, less absenteeism, and so on. And ultimately, you know, 3rd graders can read. And this is why this is a long-term plan. You really won't know the success until those 3rd graders graduate from high school. And so this is something as a community we have to be in for a long time and know it's working. There's a definition from Harvard Law School what a trauma-informed school is. The point I want to tell you here is this is about changing a culture. This is not a program, it's not a curriculum. This is a culture that has to change. It can't be one of many programs. It has to be the focus. We've got some grant money to be able to bring in some consultants and for 5 schools that wish to be trauma-informed schools. They fill out an application. It's kind of like a grant process they went through. You see there Snipes, Freeman, Gregory, College Park, and J.C. Rowe. They just had their 3rd training yesterday or today, and it went very well. They loved that consultant. In fact, it went so well that Kristen Jackson, who's been a wonderful partner with us on this, fantastic liaison back to the community, she found some more money to bring 5 more schools into this. You can see those 5 there, and they're just starting their training, or actually they're on their 2nd round of 3. That's gone very well. Those schools are very engaged and want to become trauma-informed and change the way they interact with kids to recognize, first of all, like I said, their own issues, but recognize what the kids are going through in a different way. So these kids are indeed awesome. So with that, I'll be glad to take any questions.
I like everything you said, and what you said is enough reason for me to know why we don't need to sell the hospital.
Well, I think that's a compliment. Not sure exactly the pathway you went there, but I appreciate it. I assure you that whatever.
I think y'all are doing incredible things.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. People ask me all the time, but what happens in the future? And I will tell you that anybody who wants to be a partner with us, sale or otherwise, most likely partner, will want to do this because this is the kind of thing ultimately that is going to save healthcare costs. Because so much of the healthcare costs we have are unnecessary because of social conditions that are left unregulated or unaddressed. And so I think this makes good business sense. I think anybody would do it. But thank you. I appreciate the spirit of what you say. Thank you.
You said that you discontinued that program where you had the teachers paired up with employees from the, not the teachers, the classes paired up with the employees from the hospital. They came in and tutored and I guess mentored the children. Is there any opportunity for that maybe to be reinstated? It sounds like it was effective. I know that there's challenges with people that get that emotionally involved with the situation, but on the other hand, it sounds like the pluses for the kids outweighed the negative for the adults involved. Is there any way to reinstate that with maybe training for those adults that are involved in this so they would be more able to deal with the kind of stress that our teachers go through daily?
Right. It's one of the most gratifying things in my career. Has seen those volunteers go into schools and see those kids know them and go up and give them great big hugs and all. It's proportional to how committed your principal is.
Okay.
When the principals are committed to that, we can do it. We are trying to work mostly where there's not PTAs, Title I schools. Certain schools, we assume, handles that. They got plenty of parental interaction, but yes, we could. If you're referring to the program at Freeman, the reading program, I'd love to see that start again. I don't know why more schools don't do that. They just, the first Friday of every month at 8:15, they bring in people from the community for little kids and read to them. So the kids learn that there's other adults in the community who care about them and who want to interact with them. But more important, the adults learn. This is invariably, you read a book to a kid, you learn something about that kid that if you're not from that situation will throw you off balance. Like, wow, that's really real. And so the adults learn as well. And so it works both ways. But it's proportional to how interested the principal and the staff are.
So it basically wasn't your employees that were participating in it so much as the environment that they didn't feel it wasn't, I guess, working out at the time?
Some of each, yes. In some cases, like at Snipes, the administration there is very engaged, very into it. For some teams, it was just too much. The groups, they felt bad. They get to where they feel bad when they can't go every week. And like I said, they end up paying out of their pocket. Field trips come up, and there's nothing sadder than a field trip coming up and the kid can't go.
Well, maybe there's some way as a hospital to contribute funds to assist them in that area. I mean, there's ways to look at this to if it was that successful, that would be something that I would think that you could keep pursuing instead of just.
Maybe a hospital-school partnership.
There you go.
I don't have a question, but I do just want to say, Scott, thank you. Everywhere you go in this community, you see New Hanover Regional Medical Center employees, and they're constantly volunteering, and so just very grateful for that, especially with our schools. From the school side, I would like to say something that was not included in the presentation, but I would like to bring attention to it, was that Joe Conway, your Director of Health Equity, actually provided some implicit bias training for our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, and we really, truly appreciate that partnership. It's a wonderful program, and I think that our group is definitely going to benefit from the session that was provided, so we appreciate that too.
Thank you. I'll be sure to share that with Joe. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. He was good.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's interesting.
A couple months back, we were privileged to see the martial arts program at Holly Shelter Middle School perform. Today, we have Jane Kiker, principal of Holly Shelter Middle School, to come back and share with her more broad aspects of her middle school and some showcase their skills.
Unfortunately, Ms. Kiker is not able to be here. She is ill, but she wanted to share with everyone here tonight how much they do love their students at Holly Shelter and how wonderful a school it is. So we'll share the video.
Congratulations to Miss Johnson. She is our 2020 Teacher of the Year.
Please thank Ms. Kiker for us. That was a nice video. Dr. Burns, about a year ago, we started these school showcases for the schools to tell their story. However, they wanted to, so it's been nice to see how they've chosen to represent themselves. Item number 6, call to the audience. We do have more than the usual number, so I will need a motion from the board to allow all of the speakers. Is there a motion to go over the 30-minute time limit?
So moved.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. However, time does not permit dialogue between the board and the community. While the board welcomes residents to share their views, the chairperson retains the right to limit discussions on a particular topic when such comments become slanderous or personal in nature. The first person to sign up is Natasha Longo.
Good evening. So here we are again, another month later. I come to you to address the board on the exact same thing that I was here a month ago on student safety. In the past month, we have had an EC student be assaulted by SRO officers, which resulted in a trip to the emergency room. And it is specifically stated in his VIP that he is not to be touched, only by certain people. We have had teachers put on leave or temporarily suspended with or without pay, determining on which teacher it is that we are referring to, for inappropriate actions in front of children, yet again. We have had a coach who choked a student, and yet here we are again with a sea of orange behind me in support of this person, but yet when children are sexually assaulted and the board allows this to continue, no one can show up in red. So I'm going to make this short because there are so many people here. I stand here again today to demand the resignations of Chairwoman Lisa Estep and the following board members: David Wortman, Jeanette Nichols, Bill Rivenbark, Nelson Bludella, Stephanie Adams, along with the immediate termination of the school board's attorney, Wayne Bullard. I'm done with my taxpayer dollars, paying him to advise you guys, and it is obvious that the advice that he is giving you isn't getting you guys anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Natalie Atento. Natalie Atento. Barbara Ann Burnett.
It's good to see you in person. We have been communicating through email and letters. I'm here tonight to speak about the crisis in our schools. Courtroom revelations during Mike Kelly's sentencing resulted in continued denials from Rick Holliday in New Hanover County schools. I was devastated to read the horrors of 2 victims. Their families bravely revealed their personal nightmares in order to publicly challenge those denials. Our family had experienced the very same patterns of denial. Almost 21 years ago, my daughter was harassed and physically assaulted by her band director, Richard Pretty. She suffered much less harm than today's victims. This may seem like ancient history, but it demonstrates exactly how we ended up here today. I addressed it then and have had to address it several times since. 1999 to 2001. This stack of 35 pages represents our family's correspondence identifying Mr. Pretty's harassing behaviors, their escalation, and Rick Holliday's failure to stop the predatory behavior. Eventually, the superintendent, other administrators, and all school board members were notified or copied on correspondence. People knew. In 2009, Richard Pretty was arrested for child sex crimes in Charlotte. I wrote the superintendent and the school board about this and the arrest of another teacher. Each person received copies of those original 35 pages. In 2010, Rick Holliday was a finalist for superintendent. I wrote one little email reminding the board members about the information they had received just the previous year. In 2019, I began sharing my concerns with you all. I provided those 35 pages from the original complaint to...
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up.
She can have my time. I'm scheduled to speak after her, I believe.
Okay, what is your name?
My name is Matt Coyle. I'd like to hear what she has to say.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I provided those 35 pages to the district attorney's office and to the sheriff's department, who was collecting the information for the SBI investigation. I have been communicating, and people know. 2020, Mr. Frank was arrested. His connection to victims have been traced back to 1999. Coincidence or history? I began publicly sharing our one family's story. People know. I have come to recognize the importance
of the history of our story. The behaviors identified in those 35 pages should have been stopped then. How many fewer victims might there be if only a small effort had been made to correct the behaviors rather than embolden them? A few empty words to placate a bothersome parent is not a solution. How many other family stories are hidden in your files or were never reported because they didn't trust the system? Turn around, look backward, and discover the uncomfortable truth. There are many references here to Rick Holliday, who was promoted through the ranks of the administration. He was not the only administrator in our system to perpetuate an environment that enabled predators to victimize victimize innocent children. People knew. People know now. You know. These 1,600 plus pages that were sent to these 44 different people prove that. They also demonstrate the depth and longevity of the problem. Until you face the reality of the past, you will never be able to break this vicious cycle and provide a safe future for our children. Thank you. On wheels.
Clyde Edgerton.
My name is Clyde Edgerton. I'm the proud parent of 2, soon-to-be 3 children in the New Hanover County Schools. I teach at UNCW. Dr. Burns, welcome to New Hanover County. I, as an educator, and other parents and citizens, including others who teach at UNCW, would like to do what we can to make your stay here productive and rewarding. As you are discovering, our school system is composed of many dedicated professionals. But that system of dedicated professionals was headed until recently by 3 administrators who have now left our school system and left it in a big, bad mess of trouble, confusion, pain, and heartache. But there is a 4th player. His name is Wayne Bullard, attorney and advisor to Dr. Markley and to the person who evaluated him each year, Deputy Superintendent Dr. Rick Holliday. I am aware firsthand of Mr. Bullard's bullying behavior with a school employee as a part of his work with Dr. Markley and Dr. Holliday. And I am aware of Mr. Bullard's hand in the successful, thus far, cover-up of racial discrimination at Forest Hills Elementary School 4 years ago. This school board should terminate the services of Mr. Bullard. Thank you.
Chris Sutton.
Hi, my name is Chris Sutton, and I'm the person who started the petition to remove Holiday's name off Laney Stadium that garnered thousands of signatures. I came here because I haven't lost faith in this board and understand each of you individually came onto this board with the best of intentions in mind. This board isn't hired by school personnel. They are voted in by our citizens because of the tremendous power allotted to them, power that I'm hoping you use here today. We the people don't believe Holiday deserves his name up on that stadium, and you have the power to vote on this today instead of kicking it down the road another year and a half. To be honest, his name should have never been placed up there in the first place. He never won a state title for our school, and there are a lot of other admins who came through Laney that are way more deserving. I shouldn't have to remind the board of how the name occurred in the first place. It wasn't done by the blessing of this board, and it wasn't done by the blessing of our community. This past week, I spoke to more lawyers than I have in my entire life combined, seeking legitimate interpretation of our powers that the board has to immediately remove the name of someone off of a building, or in this instance, a stadium, literally ours. Now, I'm assuming all board members have read my petition and have read the emails the board and I have been exchanging. I understand the legal counsel of this board may have cautioned y'all to drag your feet on this issue because it may affect the civil case, which is exactly why I brought up multiple legal ways the board could make this happen today and remove his name without leaving any semblance of an admission of guilt. Legal counsel's job is to advise the board not to run it, and I hereby request that the elected board members use their ability to waive parts of the policy to expedite the removal of his name. This vote can be taken right now, and anyone who feels it may affect their civil case can recuse themselves prior to the vote occurring. Hope Mr. Bullard will at least agree with this being feasible. This is exactly why I requested legal counsel for this board to contact the UNC School of Government to look into the legal options allotted to this board to expedite the removal. I didn't want the board to believe it did not have the power to take action. I didn't want misinterpretation. You have the power. The UNC School of Government and lawyers I've contacted all agree on this matter. Policy 1520 also allows the board to dispense with policy sequence to meet emergency conditions, which, let's not mince words, the current issues going on in our school districts are not regular and do deserve to be deemed exceptional in nature, worthy of immediate action. The different policies we have for sure give our board the power to move swiftly and remove his name. Please consider voting to remove the name today and begin the healing relations between the board and our citizens that has been strained. We need a glimpse of positivity. Give it to us. We as a community need this, and it is each of y'all's individual civic duty to at least think about it and think about what's best for our community, including those who are struggling with what occurred to them. I just want to let y'all know, as my time expires, some of my friends were victims. I played ball on that school. I played ball on that field. I was an athlete of the year at Laney High School. I still give back to my community. And to be honest with y'all, I'm tethered to this all the way through. Whether y'all push it a year and a half down the line, I know some of y'all are leaving. I know some of y'all are not going to be running for re-election. I understand it's easier just to kick it down. Please, at least think about it. Think about holding a vote tonight and at least moving forward. Y'all can get me out of your hair after that. I promise you. Thank y'all for your time.
Pierrette Courtner.
Members of the board, my name is Pierrette Courtner, and I am here because I received notification that Richard Foy submitted his resignation to New Hanover County Schools. And we are all here this evening because we cannot accept this resignation, and we are trusting that in good conscience that you will not either. We are here to stand up for a man that has made a difference in our community and to serve as character witnesses for an educator, a gentleman, a Christian, a mentor, a friend, and a baseball coach. We believe that his termination, we believe that termination is not just an outcome, we believe that termination is not a just outcome for a charge that did not receive conviction. And we ask that those who do not know the facts and who were not present do not speak out of turn. In the current climate of change, how many of us have made mistakes that were not even considered issues 3 or even 5 years ago. We are all learning the way to be better. While we may not be privy to the details, we know that there are facts to be reviewed. We ask that the consequences also be reviewed and evaluated fairly, because to lose an educator, a mentor, and a friend is simply too harsh, not only for Richard Foy, but for the community that stands before you. I'm here this evening as just one of many citizens that ask you to look at the bigger picture, to fill in the blanks with the character witnesses that you are going to hear this evening, and from the many more that took the time to write on behalf of Richard Foy. We ask the Board of Education to acknowledge the credibility that Richard Foy has earned throughout his lifetime. This man who has given his whole life to this community, to education, to baseball. These and we are his mission. We are his calling. We are his purpose on earth. We ask that a lifetime of goodness not be taken away because of an error. I know that I am not alone. I tell you, I have the utmost belief that Richard Foy would never and will not ever purposefully hurt a person, not in the past and not in the future. I am not alone when I tell you that I believe without any hesitation that the community is safe and it is a better place for knowing him. I am not alone when I tell you that I am confident that Richard Foy can resume his role as an educator and a coach without a sliver of future concern. And I am not alone when I ask for the Board of Education to collectively show your good faith in the community that is here for Richard Foy. I understand that because of all the unusual upheaval in the administration, that this has not been a normal time. Richard could have prolonged the situation, he could have made a spectacle, but he chose not to. He made a decision under extreme pressure to resign his position to spare his family and the school system from anything further. Even in this situation, he continues to show that he is a humble servant. While not everyone can say they know the true facts of the situation, what they do want to believe in is the process. And you elected officials, please follow the process. Thank you.
John Barry.
Good evening. My name is John Barry, and I am, together with my wife Barb, a parent of 4 students who have graduated from New Hanover County Schools. 3 of them from Hoggard, 1 in 2018 from New Hanover High School. My oldest daughter actually was a teacher at New Hanover, or not in New Hanover, but in New Hanover County Schools at Sunset Park, and my wife is actually an instructor at UNCW after a number of years at Cape Fear. We understand the dilemma that you guys are faced with. And I'm going to start by saying thank you to the board for your time today and allowing us to spend a few minutes to advocate on behalf of Coach Foy. And to say that we're disappointed that he's resigned is an understatement. I am here because the entire Wilmington baseball community, the entire school community are not prepared to accept his resignation. And as elected officials who represent us, we think that you should not accept his resignation either. The mission statement on your website reads, "The mission of New Hanover County Schools, in collaboration with our parents in the community, is to strive to provide children with an opportunity for a superior education in a safe and positive learning environment where they are prepared with the skills to succeed." And we are the parents in the community that you should be collaborating with. And with this collaboration, you have seen a community full of support, respect, and admiration for Coach Foy. As you know, we made this collaboration easy, as last week we started an online petition for support to reinstate him as both an educator and a coach. And this petition received over 900 signatures in just over 24 hours. That number's still growing, and it currently stands at over 1,250 signatures. But as impressive are the hundreds of comments offered by parents, players, students, opposing coaches, umpires, and fellow teachers who believe in Coach Foy and understand how important he has been and still is to our Wilmington community. For your convenience, we've provided all board members with copies of the petition signatures and comments. Your copy also includes dozens of personal letters and player quotes that we have also received, and I truly hope you'll read them. If you're really being true to your mission, you will realize that it is men like Richard Foy who enable your ability to provide the safe and positive learning environment you reference. Coach Foy is a quiet man who rarely seeks attention or recognition, and we're certain his resignation was not his preferred outcome, but one that allowed the path of least resistance for you, for the community, and his family to return to a quiet and normal life. But this situation is not normal, and we cannot remain quiet. As our school board, a board who represents us, you have an opportunity to show us that you can make sound decisions. Decisions that show appropriate discretion and judgment and that discriminate between accusations, truth, and misunderstandings. Decisions that protect not only our children, but the teachers that we entrust our children to learn from. These lessons extend well beyond the classroom and well beyond a defined curriculum. Coach Foy is a master of teaching life's lessons, and my family, my son in particular, are better because of his influence. And I'm troubled that his last lesson might be that sometimes the system fails you, that sometimes good doesn't triumph, and that sometimes great men finish last. You have an opportunity to change this lesson. I believe you have an obligation to. I am sure that the current environment is weighing heavily on the Board of Education, and I'm sure that a path of least resistance is attractive given the other more egregious incidents that you're dealing with. That said, taking the path of least resistance is not why we elected you. We elected you to deliver on your mission, which includes the difficult decision to stand up for your teachers when they need to be defended. Richard Foy's circumstance is one of those occasions we are counting on the board to stand up. We are counting on you because there is a generation of students, players, and families in the waiting who will suffer from the loss of Coach Foy and the positive impact he will have in their lives. We are counting on you to reject Coach Foy's resignation and reinstate him to his full position at New Hanover High School. Thank you.
Jennifer Hardy.
My name is Jennifer Hardy, mother of a current New Hanover baseball senior, 3-year varsity letterman Chase Hardy. I've also had the privilege to be on New Hanover baseball board for 4 years. That has allowed me the opportunity to interact with Coach Richard Foy frequently and got to know him on a personal and professional level. As a parent of a current baseball player, I'm seeing firsthand how his absence is affecting the Wildcat family. My son is a senior who has always played for Coach Foy. Take that in the physical sense and the literal sense. He plays his heart out for a man that pushes to be the best while showing you true integrity of how a great player should act. Coach Foy is always holding high standards for himself and his players. He leads by example, and his players and coaches follow his lead. He is the best example of my son, and any current or former player could ask for in a coach. He inspires his boys to be better than they were the day before. His encouragement and constant motivation has led to high levels of success for his teams and players. I'd like to read a quote that Coach Foy said. "A lot of things you preach daily in practices and games sound cliche, but we're going to play until they make us go home. We will play every single pitch until the umpires say the game is over. And if you do that, we have a chance to do what we just did, win." He spoke that. He used that in an interview after an extra inning win last season from Game 3 of Regional Championship. If you use that quote and what he taught his team, coaches, and families, I take from that to never give up. Things might not always look bright, but if you do the right thing, use the people surrounding you to fight till the end, until the umpires say the game is over, we will continue to ask the Board of Education to give Richard Foy another chance. Coach Foy has been working with my son for 3 years, preparing him for college. Coach Foy has been the person who has had his back, pushed him, and told him not what he wanted to hear, but what he needed to hear to get better. He is always positive. He never discourages and has no negativity. Without Coach Foy, my son is missing out on possibilities. He is one player that is missing out. We have almost 50 baseball athletes on the team that need their coach back, and next year there'll be another 50. The number of student athletes that Coach Foy has impressed upon and the number that he will impress upon in the future are monumental. I can only impress upon you to please consider that Coach Richard Foy, all the good that Coach Richard Foy has done, and please give him a second chance. Thank you.
Bertha Dixon Wright.
Lisa, I think she signed it twice.
I haven't even heard me speak yet, they're clapping. Good evening. My name is Bertha Dixon Wright. I worked in the New Hanover County Schools for 30-plus years, and I've been retired for almost 3. I first met Richard Foy back in 1978. We've been friends since 1979. Richard Foy and I were at school at UNCW, and after graduation, we kind of parted ways. He was hired at New Hanover High School again back in '07, and again we met. There we talked together, we played together, we ate lunch together, we did hall duty together, whatever was required, we did it. We had the pleasure of playing our classes together, competing against each other, and I have to tell you this story because it's gonna wind up to where I wanna be. We were playing wiffle ball one day, which is similar to outdoor baseball, indoor softball. And there was this one kid who had difficulties hitting the ball, catching the ball, and I don't think he ever made it to first. I remember that. So Richard had been on me about coming to see the baseball team, so I went to see them play that afternoon. I think I got there about the third inning. When I got there, lo and behold, there was that kid walked out of the dugout, fully dressed in uniform from head to toe. And I'm saying to myself, has Richard lost his mind? So I couldn't wait to see him the next day to say, Richard, what on earth are you thinking? Here you are, state caliber team, and you got this kid on the team who can't play. Richard looked me in my face and said, Vertha Jean, and that's what he always called me. This kid needed baseball more than we needed him. This kid needed somewhere to go in the afternoons after school. He needed something to be a part of, something to make him feel like he belongs. And at first I looked at him and I'm thinking, you're an idiot. This kid cannot help your team at all. And then later on I thought, and today I have to think also, New Hanover High School needs Richard Foy. They need him in the classroom, they need him in the halls, they need him doing lunch duty, bus duty, and they need him on the baseball field. Because there would be more kids like this kid. This kid needed something, and Richard Foy saw the need. He gave this kid an opportunity to dress just like the other kids, whether he started or not. And if you follow your mission statement on your human resource page, you'll bring back Richard Foy. You will. He is needed, he is wanted, he can do the job, and he needs to be brought back so he can. Thank you.
Miriam Thompson.
Thank you. That's a tough act to follow, but I'll try. My name's Miriam Thompson, and I'm proud to be Richard Foy's attorney. It's unfortunate that Richard Foy needs an attorney, but he does. I'm also the proud mom of 2 teenage Wildcat daughters, 16 and 18 years old. I tell you this because I believe my experience as a mother of 2 teenage daughters who are similar in age to the student who was involved in this incident gives me a unique perspective and hopefully lends some credibility to what I'm going to say to you people. There's a lot of people here in support of Richard Foy who have known him a lot longer than I have and have much more of a connection to him. I'm here to talk to you tonight about what happened with the criminal charge that was brought against him. First off, I don't believe a criminal charge should have been brought against him, but I had no control over that. He came to see me after the criminal charge was brought. Once the criminal charge was brought, the New Hanover County District Attorney's Office had to decide what to do with it, and they did their job. An assistant district attorney with decades of experience handled the case. She reviewed the incident, she reviewed the evidence, she talked to the student involved, she talked to the student's parents, she talked to me, and she made a decision to offer Richard Foy what's called a deferred prosecution agreement. That means they believe that this incident didn't rise to the level of a criminal offense. The charge is to be dismissed. That's what happened in the criminal case. What's happened with the school discipline case, in my opinion, was not fair. I didn't get a voice in that case. An assistant, or an interim, I believe, an interim deputy superintendent, who I don't know, but I believe is here tonight, LaShawn Smith, who had the job as interim deputy superintendent for 3 weeks, was tasked with making the school discipline decision in Mr. Foy's case. That's not fair to Dr. Smith. That's not fair to Richard Foy. There's huge political pressure going on with you guys right now. It's all over the media. Mr. Foy is not Michael Kelly. He's not the band teacher that's been charged with sexual assaults. This is a different, it's a different incident, and his case deserves to be assessed for what it was. And we believe it doesn't rise to the level that he should be terminated. And if there's anything you can do in your power to give this man a second chance, we're asking you to do that tonight. Thank you.
Due to the length of this call to the audience, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you.